Jai Hind to students. I am from Dr. Shashank Sahu from Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College, Ghaziabad. Today I am going to discuss the topic Java Server Pages from the subject KCS 602. Now, Java Server Pages basically is a technology introduced by Sun Microsystem, and it is developed for the web application, and it is efficient technology than Sublet. It has many advanced features than Sublet. One of them to separate the presentation logic from the business logic. It gives the opportunity to work designer and developer to work independently. JSP consists of following components for web application. First one is directive, declaration, scriptlet, expression, standard action, custom tags. Directive basically is used to give the attributes for the current page. When we use the directive, then we have to use the format less than sign. We have to use the format less than sign, percentage. We have to use the format less than sign, percentage, @ symbol. Then we have to use the page attribute. So, if the page attribute, there are many other attributes are there. We can set the language of the page, that is for example Java. One is extend. The page can be extended from a class name, and we can import some package. So, these are the attributes by which we can set the attributes of a page. So, page directive is used for the setting of certain attributes for JSP pages. Language of page, in which the page content should be written, which class to be imported so that it can be used within the JSP page. Next directive is include. In this include directive, we are using attribute file and provide the file name. This directive is to include the HTML, JSP or sublet file into a JSP file. This is a static inclusion of file. It will be included into the JSP file at the time of compilation. Next is declaration. Declaration is defined less than percentage sign, and we are using exclamation sign. Declaration tag is used to define the variables of a web page. Then we have a scriptlet. In case of scriptlet, we are using less than sign, percentage. Then we provide our scripts here. Basically, we are writing the Java program within the scriptlet. Next, JSP tag is expression. In expression, we are using less than sign, percentage equal to, and we provide any expression. It is evaluated and the output will be displayed. So, there are basically 4 tags, main tags by which we are doing website development with the help of JSP language: directive, declaration, scriptlet and expression. Next, we have a standard action. Standard action start from JSP. We write the JSP, then after the colon, write name of the standard action, include. So, standard action is a predefined libraries by which we can include in our web application for standard programming, and standard action is used to club more than one instructions. It provides easy programming and efficient programming for the web application. Here the example of standard action is include, and we are taking the page attribute, providing the file name. So, this standard action include that file dynamically in a JSP file at the runtime. That is, output of the included file is inserted into the JSP file. Next standard action is forward. We provide the page attribute and name of the file. This will redirect to the different page without notifying the browser. Next is tag library. So, custom library can be developed for web application in the JSP page. For that, we are using the tag library directive. So, in case of tag library, we are using URI attribute to provide the name of the library that is developed by the developer, and we can give a prefix name whenever we are using this library in our web application. So prefix basically denotes, or you can say represent, the tag library when we are using any component of this library in our web application. Now I am going to discuss some program of JSP. So JSP basically is the HTML plus Java. So we start the programming from HTML. Whenever we want to include some Java coding, then we have to use the JSP tag. Here the example of, we are going to display the current date. So it is the starting of HTML tag, then body tag. Now new.java.util.date, basically it is a Java code that I want to include in this HTML file and make this file as a JSP file. So we are using Jsp expression here. So less than sign, percentage equal to, it is a Jsp expression. Then we are using package java.util and we are using the date class. With the help of new, we are creating the object of date class. It consists of current date and time, and that will be displayed. So it is a very simple JSP program. Now you will save this program. For example, name of this file is file1. So we will save this program like file1.jsp. So .jsp is the extension of any JSP program. Now how will you run this program? You will run this program in the browser. In the browser, in address bar, you type file1.jsp and it will display current date and time. Next program, again we want to include some Java coding in the HTML pages to make a JSP program. So this time we are using the scriptlet and we are displaying some information message to the user. So we are using evaluating date now. It is a message that we want to print at the client browser. So we are using the object of out.println. Out is a predefined implicit objects available in the JSP to display any message at the client website. So here we are displaying evaluating date and time. Then we are creating a date object. So this is the date object is created with the java.util and date class. Then we are displaying this date object to display the current date and time. So here we are using Jsp expression. So you can see that this program is a combination of Jsp scriptlet and Jsp expression. So it is the starting of scriptlet, ending of the scriptlet, and it is the Jsp expression. So in the Jsp expression is doing two work. Basically it is evaluate the expression as well as it will display the evaluation output of the expression. Next program, how will you use the for loop in JSP program? Basically in this program it will display the value of for loop in a table. So it is a combination of table and Java programming language. We will see how will you embed the HTML tag in the JSP page including the Java programming. So starting with the table, it is HTML tag. Then we are using the scriptlet here. Now within the scriptlet we are using a Java instruction for loop starting of int I equal to 0 and I is less than I plus plus, and it is the starting of the for loop. Now I want to include this value of I in a tabular format. Then we have to use the HTML tag. When we want to use the HTML tag, then we need to include this scriptlet. Scriptlet must be closed. Then only we can include the HTML tag. So starting of a row is tr, then one cell is td displaying the number, then second cell is td, and we are now here we are going to display the value of I. So I plus 1, and we are using Jsp expression. So value of I plus 1 is evaluated and it will display in a table cell. Now end of the row. Now we are going to close the for loop. So for loop will be closed with the help of this curly bracket. So remember, here we are using opening of the scriptlet and ending of the scriptlet. So whenever you want to use Java instruction, Java statement in your program, it must be included in the scriptlet. And if you want to embed some HTML tag for your programming requirement, then you have to close the scriptlet. Then again we have to open the scriptlet and you have to close the scriptlet. Here you can see for loop, this is for loop, it is a part of the for loop, and we have closed the scriptlet, then embedded some HTML tags, and we close the for loop here with the help of again opening the scriptlet and ending the scriptlet. Next program is to demonstrate the Jsp directive. We can use the import attribute of the page directive. In the import attribute, we are using java.util.star, and then we are going to use scriptlet here. As we have already imported java.util.star, so no need to provide the package name here. You just write the date class here and date object is created. So in the earlier program, you can see we have to provide the package name here, but as we are using the page directive, in the import we have included the name of the package, so no need to use the package name here and use the direct class name, that is date, and a date object is created. Then we are using the Jsp expression to display the current date and time. Now we can include more than one package also with the help of import attribute. So we have import attribute, then we have java.util.star, then comma java.text.star. So here we can import it two packages here. Next, the inclusion directive is used to include the contents of another file. So here we can include the page directive within the your HTML page also, not necessarily always at the starting point. So we have included here, include is the page directive, file and hello.jsp is included in your current JSP file. Now JSP declaration. Basically JSP declaration is used to define the variables, as well as JSP declaration is also used to define the method. So in this example, we are defining a variable, the date object of type date. Then one more method is defined, that is called get date. Get date is the method, and we are displaying a message in the get date method, and it is the end of the get date. So you can see in the declaration part, we have defining two things. One is the object and second is in the method. So you can also define the method in the declaration. Next part is we have to call this method. So we are calling this method with the help of hello, the time is now. This is the JSP expression, and we call this method get date. So when we call this method get date, it will be go to the get date definition, display the message in get date method, and it will return the date object that is already created here, and it will display the current date and time. So this example demonstrating that we can include variables and we can define the method also in the JSP declaration. One important point for observation is that declaration is loaded only once when the page is loaded. In the previous example, time is not updated when the page is refreshed, because we have defined the date object within the declaration, and declaration is loaded only one time. When you refresh the page, it will not update the current date and time. And if it is within the scriptlet, then it will update it. So remember the declaration, whatever you define in the declaration, it will be loaded only one time. Next, I am going to discuss implicit objects which are available in the JSP. Implicit meaning is these objects are already predefined objects available for your programming purpose in the JSP. The first one is request, response, out, session, config, application, page, page context, and exception. So we have 9 implicit objects for the JSP programming. Now first one is request and response implicit objects. So request implicit object is an instance of Java servlet request interface, and the response is an instance of HTTP servlet response. They are available similar way to the request and response object passed to the service method in the servlet. Request object basically is used to take the value from the client and give the value to the server. So whenever we are submit data to the server, the data is available in the request object. Server will access the request object to get the data. So request object denotes the data included with the HTTP request. The client first makes a request that is then passed to the server. The request object is used to take the value from client web browser and pass it to the server. So it is basically the request object whenever we are sending the data, and it is available to the server with the help of request object. When the server will process your data and will send the response back to the client, so the response is given back to the client with the help of the response object. So response object is used to send the response back to the client. Next is out object. Out object is implicit object, is of type Jsp writer class. Basically, this out object is used to display the information at the client side. So we are using out object, then there are various methods are available. Here one of the method is print to display the value hello world. So parameter of out are sent to the output stream, which generally means they end up visible in the browser requesting the JSP page. Next is session object. We know very well HTTP is a stateless protocol, meaning is whatever the data available in one page is not accessible in the second page. Suppose you are giving the login and password in the first page and you want to move to the next page, then your authentication is not available in the next page. So HTTP is called stateless protocol. HTTP is not maintaining any state. So the solution to maintain the data from various pages, we need to use the session. So session object is already available in the JSP for making the session for web application. So session implicit object is an instance of JavaX servlet.http session interface. So it keeps track of data among the pages. We call the get session method to access an existing session. I start a new one. Typical use of session object for getting and setting attributes. So whenever we are creating a session object, we need to store the value in the session object. So value in the session object is stored with the help of setting the value. So it will be stored with the help of a key value as well as data, and with the help of getting methods, we can retrieve the data of session object with the help of key value. So these are the example. We can use session.set attribute to store the value in the session. So value is Amit Kumar and I want to store this value in the session. So we have to provide a key value. Key value, or you can say it is a variable. So here the variable name is username. So your Amit Kumar will be stored in the session with the help of variable name username. Now I want to access the Amit Kumar, then we have to use the method is get attribute. In this case, we will provide the key value, that is the username. Username is the variable. With the help of username, we can access the value of value which is available in the session. So with the help of set attribute and get attribute, we can store the value in the session and we can retrieve the value from the session. Config object. Config object is implicit object, is an instance of JavaX servlet config interface. So config object basically is used to get the initial parameter from web.xml file. In the web.xml file, we can provide some variable and respective value. So with the help of init param is tag and param name, we will provide the name of the parameter that you want to access with the help of config object. Then param value, the value of the particular variable that you have specified. So in this example in web.xml, we have specified one variable that is count and its value is 200. Now you want to access this count variable, count parameter in your JSP, then you will use the config object. So config object is basically used to access the parameters, or you can say variables that you defined in the web.xml file. Config object can be used to retrieve parameters using get init parameter method is available, by which config object will get the value. This is used to get information regarding a servlet configuration stored in the config object. So, you can provide some information in the web.xml and it can be accessed with the help of config object. Then is a application object. So, application implicit object is an instance of JavaX servlet context interface. It refers to the overall web application environment that the JSP belongs to. Recently, I discussed about the session object. Session object is available only for particular duration, but application object is available throughout life of the end application. When the application will be up on the server, the application object is available, and when the application will shut down, then application object is not accessible. So, JSP provide this object to access any time throughout the life of the web application. So, this is used to share the data with the application pages. Then page implicit object. Page implicit object is a type of object and it is assigned to reference to the servlet that is executing a JSP service method. So, page implicit object basically refer to the current page of the JSP page. Next one is page context implicit object. Page context implicit object has a type of JavaX servlet.jsp page context class. This is utilized to access other implicit object. This is used to access page attributes and also to access all the namespaces associated with a JSP page. Then there is exception implicit object. Exception implicit object is a type of Java language throwable class. This object is available to pages that have isError page set to true with the directive. So, exception handling is available in the JSP page and we can done with the help of one attribute is isError page. Whenever there is some error in a JSP page, so it will call an error page. So, we can assume it is a type of error page, and to define that it is an error page, there should be isError page equal to true. When isError page will be true, then only exception object is available in the current page. So, the exception object refers to the exception triggered by the page that uses this page as an exception handler. So, this page can be work as an exception handler and exception object is only available to this page when the isError page equal to true. Now, I am going to discuss a JSP program to count the number of visitors. First, we have created a variable of application count of type integer, and then we are using the get attribute. So, in this program, we are using the session management by which we will maintain the count, or you can say visiting count whenever we are refreshing a page. So, application count, we are using get attribute and we are getting the value from the session is application count. So, basically presently nothing is stored. So, application count equal to null. Now, we are assigning the application count integer value equal to 1. When we are, then it will move to here application set attribute. So, here we are using application implicit object because we have to maintain the number of visitors throughout the life of a application. So, here we are using application set attribute to store the value in the application object. So, initial value of application count equal to 1. So, it will store the value application count in the application object and its key value is application count. So, and it will display the value application count equal to 1. It will display the value equal to application count equal to 1. When again we refresh the page, then it will find out the current value of application count. Presently, the current value of application count is 1. This time, if a statement will be false, it will go to the else statement. In case of else statement, it is increasing the value of application count by 1. Then it is again storing the value of current application count in the application implicit object. So, this time the application count value is 2, it will be stored here. When we again access this page, it will get the current value of application count. The current value of application count is presently is 2. So, 2 will be in the application count, and if a statement will be false, it will go to the else statement and this time increasing the value of application count plus 1, that is 3, and 3 will be stored in the application object. This way, with the help of application implicit object, we are able to find out the number of visitors of a particular website, or in this case we are finding the number of visitors for this page. So, here this program is demonstrating the use of application object. It is an implicit object which is available, in which we can store the value, and that can be retrieved after some time whenever we are accessing a website second time. Thank you very much.